That's the big thing they've got to focus on right now, and that's part of their development. That's something we're going to talk about all week, is how do you hold and control your mental and your emotional approach.
These teams, it's all about development, but this big tournament for these teams, it's all about results. When you look at the Houston Dynamo, they come into this one, and this front attacking three, going from right to left. Marcelo Palomino, US U18 star for this team, wearing the number 10. You look at the team as they go through from top to bottom. This Houston team struggling in qualifying. They've got a star in goal in Osmero Chavero. Michael Pham starting at right back in this one. Eric McHugh at center back alongside Ivan Leon. And then at left back, Fabrizio Policastro. In that central midfield three, the captain's armband on Fahim Patel. He's got 18 starts in the USDA competition for this team. Two midfielders flanking him, Christian Coelho on the left side, and on the right side, as you hear the wind blow through here, Brian Johnson. And up front, from right to left, three players with international experience. Hyberto Soto, who's a US U16 international on the left side. Jalen Anderson at center forward. And as I mentioned, Marcelo Palomino on the right side of that attack. On the flip side for Monterrey, Marcelo Gonzalez, number 350 in goal. A 4-2-3-1 for this Monterrey team to start. Cesar Perez at right back. Abel Barron and Andre Puente at center back, and Fernando Ordonez at left back. Edgar Martinez and Angel Zapata in the holding midfield. From left to right in the attack, Brandon Guerra, Edwin Orantia, and Orlando Martinez. And up top, Eduardo Banda. Monterrey now gets in possession for the first time. For the Houston Dynamo, Bobby struggles in qualifying, did not win a game. So they come in here in the Premier Division. There are two divisions in the GA Cup, Champions and the Premier Division. We will have games from both of them throughout the week. 3 days worth of group stage competition before we head up to the big stadium for the knockout stage. First chance here for Monterrey. Offside called, as it was Martinez breaking through that right side.
And Dave, it's a challenge for the Houston Dynamo early on in this game to play a team from a culture and a style that they're not used to playing every week. So one of their big challenges right now to start is figuring out what kind of style does Monterrey want to play.
Turnover here, Banda charging forward. Tries to get the shot away, he does! Chavero gets a touch to it, it looked like, and it goes out for a corner kick.
And it's not something they're used to, because usually when you play Development Academy, usually as a professional, you know who you're playing every week. You watch the film, and here this team is that they haven't seen before. But not only a team they haven't seen before, but really a style they're not used to seeing every week. Because as we know, people that follow soccer understand that the way the Mexican Federation plays is often different than the way a lot of Americans play.
What was your first experience of playing an international team? How surprising is it that teams do play different for a young player?
It's very different. You know, it sounds like a small thing, but you know, when a player picks up his head and he has a checklist, it's different for an American player compared to an English player compared to a player from Mexico or Central America. And you've got these mental pictures in your brain of how the game's going to go, and all of a sudden you play these different teams, and it's totally different, which is why it's so great for these American MLS clubs and Canadian clubs to come and play these games, because they get different tastes of that. They get more pictures put into their brain, and not only do they get used to playing these teams in these different situations, but they also learn something. They also say, oh, I didn't really know soccer if we played that way, or I didn't know that you could do that on the ball. So it's a nice challenge for them to step up to, but it's also a good learning opportunity to take on some new nuggets from different players.
Eric McHugh knocks that ball away. All right, center back for this team. Formerly of DC United's academy, now playing with the Houston Dynamo Academy. As we start to see players move around the different systems. MLS Academy structure becoming more robust year after year. This competition, a big part of the development for these young players to get some high-level competitive experience, to play against some of the best teams both in the country and in the world. Teams from Brazil, Argentina, Japan, Germany, France, as well as Mexico and Ecuador here. So a good range of players. for these teams to learn from. Chance down the right side now. Anderson on the attack puts the cross in, looking for Soto.
Love that near post run from Soto. Those are the kind of little things I'll be talking about all week. And a lot of younger players there would have held at the top of the box. They would have tried to find the easy space. But Soto made the experienced play by running near post, dragging the defender with him. And you could see Palomino trailing just a little behind, who would have been wide open at the top. Nice early start from Soto there.
It looks like Palomino and Anderson swapping there on that front line. Palomino playing a little bit more centrally. Marcelo Palomino was in preseason with the first team for the Dynamo, scored a goal in a friendly against a college team, has played a little bit with the USU 18 team this year already. When you're that star player and you come back to this setup, how do you have to adjust? How do you have to fit in?
It's two parts to it. It's the physical part and taking on the initiative and saying, I'm the best player, my team needs to get things done. But it's also understanding how do you deal with that from the mental side and fitting into the ethos of the team. Because when you're a young player, it's tough to grasp being important, have status. How do you take that weight as the leader? Do you, some younger players take it easy. They say, I don't have to work as hard today, I don't have to defend. But obviously that's not the right choice.
Some players do too much.
Some players do too much. You're exactly right. So I'm interested to see with Palomino today, who trains, we got a chance to talk with the Houston staff, trains with the first team every day. They actually said this is the first game he's ever played with his own age group. He's an under-17 player right now, and he was always playing up. This is his first chance to ever play the proper age group. And I'm interested to see off the ball, does he work hard? Does he try and do too much when he gets it? What kind of experience does he have now being the star player at his own age? And what is his mental attribute like in that situation?
That's one of the things you see a lot in this competition is teams that spread their players around through age groups. Some guys playing up, some guys playing at their age, some guys spending time training with a USL setup or an MLS setup, bringing them all here, and guys sort of sometimes having to learn each other at a high-level competition at a high speed.
Yep. So if you're watching on the stream right now, if you can see Palomino at the top of your screen near the center circle, does he look focused off the ball? Does he look intent to do the little things like pinch in weak side, to win this loose ball here? What kind of decision does he make? Plays it off simple. That's a nice sign from a young player who now is expected to be the star. Is he willing to do those little things?
Eric McHugh playing at center back, stepped up a couple times, made some big plays. We've seen some messy turnovers early on here in this game for Houston.
And we should note, David, that the wind is currently at the Houston Dynamo's back, and it's a fairly brisk wind. So Monterrey playing into it, Houston playing with it. So as you see the decisions they make playing out of the back, whether it's long balls, whether it's short passes, keep that in mind, that the wind is in Houston's advantage right now.
Monterrey, no stranger to this competition. They were here last year. They finished in 7th in the Premier Division. 2 years ago, they got 2nd place in the Premier Division, losing to Atletico Paranaense in the final. Paranaense out of Brazil, a team here once again this year. This Houston Dynamo team in the 4-3-3 to come out here, Bobby, similar to the professional setup. That's something every coach has talked about, that weighing of playing like the pro team, having a club identity, but also playing to the best abilities of the players at your level as well.
Yes. Exactly, and one thing we talk about a lot around Major League Soccer is creating this streamline, to creating this pathway from the academy team to the professional team. And one of those steps is being the style you're used to playing week in and week out. So when you go from the under-17 or under-19 team towards the professional team, is it a shock in what they're asking you to do every day? And one thing we see with a lot of these academy teams is it's not. That they're expected to play, if not the same formation, but at least the same style and the same approach as the first team. So if they do go from the under-17 coach to Wilmer Cabrera at the MLS club, or do they have the same demands in what they're asked to do on and off the ball?
Long ball over the top there from McHugh. Not able to find anyone, taken easily by Puente.
So Palomino stepped to that ball, David, and I like that because it's one of the cues. When do you step, when do you stay? And when a defender's back is turned like that and it's bouncing, it's a cue to press. So it's nice to see a 17-year-old recognize that and make the movement and have his team press with him.
Patel wearing the armband, the number 6 on this team. He's had a couple chances to get on the ball, but hasn't really been able to dictate this game so far. As Bobby mentioned, heavy wind blowing from behind the Houston Dynamo goal across the field from right to left. And that is something that often affects games here, and you see the two halves very different. So you'll look to see that the Houston Dynamo can try and take advantage of this first half, which is tough, Bobby, because you're asking them to come out of the gates and play a really strong half to start the tournament.
Yeah, we can see that they're not pressing early that often. Palomino made the one, brought his team with him, but when Monterrey is set in their defensive block with the ball, we don't see the Houston Dynamo pressing, which surprises me because, as you said, David, they really do only have a first half here to take advantage of this wind. We could have another conversation on how advantageous wind is, especially if you're a team who likes to play with the ball on the ground and having the wind at your back. But I certainly expected Houston Dynamo to come out and press a little higher and take the initiative to Monterrey more.
Houston Dynamo, as I mentioned, qualifying in the Central region. Toronto FC and FC Dallas coming in first and second in that region to qualify for the Champions Division. Houston Dynamo going 0-4-2 in qualifying, finishing out the -8 goal differential. The Dynamo trying to turn around here and have a good Dallas Cup competition. For Houston, a lot of challenge, a lot of expectation because FC Dallas, one of the top academy teams in the league, their in-state rival, in Houston trying to match what they've done. They've got a couple players that have come through the academy, especially more recently under Wilmer Cabrera, to become a part of the full team setup as McHugh goes with the long ball down the right wing. That win helps push that one out.
And not just the academy for the Houston Dynamo, David, but also their USL franchise, Rio Grande Valley. They've brought Mauro Manotos through, Kevin Garcia through. So it's a club who clearly cares about this development pathway and giving players the right step at each stage of their development. Here we see Houston Dynamo stepping a little higher. This is what we expected to see early, David. And that's 2 or 3 times now the two center backs have both gotten caught on top of each other, not one stepping, one dropping.
Charging forward, Zapata lays it off. Cross comes all the way through the box and there's no one there.
Transition moment. I know it's in their own half, but here it's interesting to see what a young player does on this ball in this transition moment.
Colo
nicely
pushes
taken
it into the middle.
Nicely taken on the half turn there.
Patel pushing it wide for McHugh. And that ball, that cross going just outside the reach of Eduardo Banda, the center forward for Monterrey.
And David, you mentioned Patel not getting the ball early that much, and I don't mind that from a defensive midfielder and captain, especially in a game like this. First game of the tournament, weird winds, new opponent. A lot of the times his priority is not to get on the ball. His priority mainly is to keep things organized. It's to tell guys to stay calm. And he's got so many things on his plate. Now we start to see in this run of play, he's got on the ball 3 or 4 more times. Once the game's calmed down and once his players seem to be more composed, you can see Patel, the captain, starting to get into the possession more.
Palomino dropping very deep there to pick up that ball and try and help develop. And you can see he's in the middle circle right now, a little upset with that long ball at the end of all that build-up. The two center backs right now, Leon and McHugh, keeping things in front of them for the most part. That one gets headed back into the safe arms of Gonzalez.
I'm surprised to see Palomino start central right now. David, when we talked to his coaches before the game, they had said that he would start wide and drift in, that he would start in an area where he wouldn't be found and then move to the more dangerous central spaces. But it appears that he started this game central. And as you said,
Is their idea there of just trying to get him more touches, to try and build through him a little bit more?
I'm not sure if he made that decision on the run of the game or if the coaches changed their mind right before the game.
It seemed to be from the start that he's played there. Anderson playing out wide right. Jalen Anderson, one of their leading goal scorers in USDA, already committed to UNC Wilmington for his college soccer. These players, most of them born in 2001, many in 2002, a few in 2003. 2001 the cutoff for this competition, so a couple already committed to colleges. There's a few players here who've already signed professional contracts as MLS homegrowns or USL players with their teams. You're going to see a whole lot of players over the next few days. We've got a whole host of games coming up for the rest of today. We've got the Montreal Impact and the Colorado Rapids here on this field coming up right after this game. Myself and Bobby Warshaw are going to be watching Seattle Sounders versus a team coming from Japan. As the Dynamo try and keep that ball and it goes out for a goal kick. And Matsumoto Yamaga, we've got NYCFC, last year's Premier Division champions, playing against Atletico Paranaense later in the afternoon. Atlanta United and Independiente De Valle from Ecuador. And to close the whole day off, Bobby, Sporting KC against Real Madrid. That's what you got to live for if you're a young player. You get a chance to step on the field, on the broadcast, under the lights, on the big field against Real Madrid. That's a pretty good experience for a 16-year-old.
I wonder if these 16-year-olds now get to trade jerseys.
You got to buy your own jersey to trade it, Bobby.
It's probably worth it, though.
I would agree. When I was young, I played against the Real Madrid team, and we traded those little things you trade at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, the patches.
Yeah, and it was one for each team, like the two captains.
Yep.
And I was co-captain. And I was just trying to be casual and not grab it.
Like, play it cool.
And my co-captain took it, and we walked back, and I tried to play it cool for a little bit, and I was like, hey, where'd that thing go? And he goes, it's in my bag already. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I thought maybe I could. And he's like, no, I have it. You should have taken it from the guy. And I was like, oh, man. And I'll never have it. That's something I'll live with forever. Anderson charging forward. And that ball played out. Gonzalez off his line quickly. We've seen Monterrey with one or two breaks off mistakes so far in this game. Houston, the bulk of the possession here in this first half.
Nice turn by Anderson, running the back four. It's exactly the kind of situation you want as an attacker, when you can pick the ball up in the space between the midfield and defense, turn and run straight at the defenders, especially if you're a player like Anderson. And he also executed it well. You could see him running at the first player, making him commit. He got his space and he took a shot. He didn't connect, but overall a nice few seconds from the Houston attacker.
Tackle made there in that midfield area by Patel once again. Fahim Patel, 18 starts for this team in USDA this season. One of the first names on the team sheet for them.
Houston has a scenario over these last few minutes, and you can see it with Monterrey pressing now, where Houston has them on the ropes a little bit. Monterrey is trying to take initiative. They're trying to press, trying to get to the ball, but they're a little late and they're a little disjointed. If Houston can be sharp and move the ball with intention, and I know that's a trite line, David. What I mean by that is having an idea when you make each pass and how it sets up two or three down the line. So when the center backs have the ball there, are they making the forward chase in a way that they're pulling him in a direction so that then Patel, the defensive midfielder, can go to a different space where the Monterrey attacking core is now not, because they've been chasing the center backs passing.
McHugh wins the first header. Slide tackle coming in there from Palomino. And now a chance to break for the Dynamo. Poli Castro coming down this left wing. He loses possession. Good one-on-one battle there, won by Martinez. Palomino back on the ball now. Slips by two defenders, gets it down the left wing for Soto. Soto's got space to cross, headed away in the middle. Attack now by the Dynamo. On the ground in front of the goal. Palomino's shot is blocked and saved on the line. Biggest chance of this game so far. It looked like Marcelo Gonzalez was out of the play. The goalkeeper got enough help from his defense to make the save.
David, I have absolutely no idea what just happened there. I don't know why that ball did not go in the goal.
You got to say, though, Bobby, from the start, Palomino able to beat a defender in midfield, open up play with that ball down the left wing. Soto does his job with the cross, but I'd say by far the best combination for the Dynamo so far.
Absolutely. That's exactly what the Houston Dynamo wants Palomino to get on the ball, and that, like we said, in that pocket between the midfield and defense. If he can face up, and you see often that his runners on either side, Anderson and Soto, know that as soon as Palomino does pick up his head there, they take off because he will find them.
Chance now for Martinez down the right wing as this game opens up. Volley hit off the post and cleared by McHugh.
Lovely technique from the Monterrey striker. You could see him stay balanced. He didn't swing too hard, just made contact. What concerned me there is McHugh never checked over his back shoulder. He stared at the ball. He didn't open his hips.
Brandon Guerra with that strike out of the air off the cross by Martinez. So the Houston Dynamo have a ball cleared off the line on one end, and then Monterrey hit the post on the other end. You got to wonder for Monterrey if they're just waiting for the Dynamo to open up a little bit, playing it casual here, waiting for that opportunity, as now Monterrey's through again. Banda one-on-one. The outside of the foot shot goes over the top.
Fantastic pass, and again, I just said a few seconds ago, the two center backs for Houston, McHugh in particular, did not open his hips and check his shoulder. He got a little too locked in on the ball. He didn't get his body posture right, and it gave the lane for that through ball to be played in between him.
And you can hear the wind coming through our mics as this gusts through. Now, we do expect rain today, but at the same time, Bobby, you've played on these fields. You are a former FC Dallas player. You've trained out here behind Toyota Stadium for years. This is a pretty consistent wind.
Yeah, I don't miss this wind much. It's here pretty often, pretty much every day, especially as you get spring and early summer.
When you get Edgar Castillo running with the wind behind him, how much faster is he than when he's running against
It was
the
Fabian Castillo in
Dallas.
Dallas.
Sorry, Fabian Castillo.
But yeah, that was not a fun experience to have Marvin Chavez and David Ferrer and Fabian Castillo running at me, wind behind them on a wet morning grass.
Houston Dynamo and Monterrey getting us started here in the 2018 Generation Adidas Cup, the premier youth tournament. We've got 3 days of group stage competition coming from here at Toyota Soccer Center before we head up to Toyota Stadium for the semifinals. 4 straight games, back to back to back to back. Premier Division and then Champions Division, and then a final day with 2 championship games. Chance for these teams to maybe add a trophy to the locker. Edgar Martinez getting lucky there. Hand off the ball. No call made. We've seen Orlando Martinez down here on the right wing be dangerous early on in this game. He was the one who set up Guerra's shot.
Now here we see Palomino leading the press again. It's clearly been told from the coaches that he's the one in charge. A lot of times before the game at any level, the head coach will, oh wow, that was a pretty nice touch right there. The head coach will say, hey, we're going to draw a line of pressure here, often near the top of the circle, and he will designate a player, center back, center midfielder, center striker, to say, when you feel it's time to go, you go. And that initiative has clearly been given to Palomino today to say, when you see that moment to pressure, you go and we will follow.
How tough is it for this team, because we mentioned Palomino not playing with this age group most of the time because of his ability, for other players to adjust to a new guy's tendencies?
No, you're exactly right. And we talk about a lot of things with passing and trapping in player development, but that's a big one too. Can you not only lead a team, but can you lead a group of players who you haven't been around that much? And David, we both know that that's somewhat the way leadership works. There's a part you can learn, but there's also just a part that you are as a human being to say, I'm going to show up in this room, I'm going to come onto this field, and people are going to follow me. And that is as much a part of a player's development as the technical skills. So I do appreciate the Houston Dynamo staff giving him that initiative today and saying, we understand you can do the soccer parts. Now let's let you develop as a person, teach you how to be a grown man and learn those parts of leadership.
Long ball played down that left Monterrey wing. Michael Pham clearing it away. Now Patel in the battle. He's able to earn the foul.
One thing I like early on here from Houston, David, is the distance from the defenders to the midfielders has been nice and tight. Monterrey hasn't been able to get the ball in the gaps. We were talking about Anderson and Palomino getting it in. So full credit to this core of 2 center backs from Houston and the 2 defensive midfielders in front of them, Patel and Coelho.
McHugh here will take this free kick.
I love that. Checked his shoulders and took the touch away from the defender. As he gets older, he'll learn to be a little more comfortable in that next half second, connect that pass. But as a 16-year-old, to check his shoulder, take that first touch clean away from pressure is a nice early sign.
So 23 minutes played so far in this first half of this first game. This tournament, 70-minute games played to help fit them all in. So 35-minute halves, FIFA rules. You get 3 substitution, can't return once you've come off. So about 10 minutes left to play here in this first half. Bobby, I think you can say progressively Houston's gotten more and more comfortable. What do you want to see for these final 10 minutes?
It's like we said a little bit a few minutes ago, David, that when they're in possession, can they have a plan on the ball? Because they do have Monterrey on the ropes a little bit in these 7 or 8 minutes. And we've all watched enough soccer games to know that soccer is a game of taking advantage of these moments when you have the other team under pressure.
It looks like Patel's going to try and drive this one into the box with the wind at their back. McHugh goes up for the header. Gonzalez gets a touch to it. Still alive in the box and finally cleared.
Really like that idea of a set piece in this wind. Just float it up there and let your biggest player compete with the goalkeeper, who's going to have trouble judging it because of the movement of the ball right now.
Now Guerra looking to start the attack. Martinez down this right wing. He pushes it wide for the fullback Perez.
David, let's watch the center backs right now for Houston. Do they open their hips? Do they check off their back shoulder and watch these tracking runs?
This ball just a little bit too far, but saved by Perez. He drops it back. The cross played in. Still alive in the box. It was Zapata here with a second cross. That one too far for Banda. He saves it. So Monterrey, another bite at this one. Right-footed shot is blocked. Slide tackle there from Pham to protect his goalkeeper.
Look at the distance from McHugh and Leon to Patel and Coelho. It's small. You can see it's only about 10 yards right here, which is exactly what you want to see.
Houston trying to press up.
Very nicely done by the Dynamo as a defensive block, moving up and back together and limiting the space in between their lines.
Abel Barron and Andre Puente, two center backs for Monterrey. Kept things pretty tight so far in this one. Interception by Palomino. Now Johnson charging forward.
David, Monterrey has not looked that comfortable in that sharp, but I've been in these games. I've played as a 16, 17, 20-year-old playing these Mexican teams, and they tend to be very, very good on the ball. So the fact that they don't look that sharp or that creative right now is a testament and credit to how Houston is playing and limiting the space with which Monterrey can play.
Martinez starting to take over here, coming off the right wing, trying to find more of the ball. He puts a cross in, headed away by Leon. Now, as we said, this is a heavy wind. It'll be interesting to see how Monterrey comes out in the second half. The wind behind them guaranteed a bit more possession in the attacking half. If they're able to come out with that full steam and really challenge this Houston back line.
Anderson, the ball goes back. Now we see Houston pressing. Anderson leads it. Palomino now needs to find the defensive midfielder who's going to check. So he needs to step to the ball, but keep an eye on the player behind him.
Leon in a battle now with Martinez. Chance for the attack now. Guerra forward to the feet of Banda. He's got Guerra making the run. And read and saved by Chavero. Osmar Chavero, 2001. Born out of Mission, Texas. He's played some time with the US U16s over the last year or two.
That's nicely done. Now can you go? You just created the space. Can Leon recognize that? They just had 3-4 Monterrey players around the ball. They got out of pressure, and those are the moments we need to recognize.
Poli Castro goes down the wing. It's going to be too far for Palomino and Soto. Now Gonzalez out of his box. He's able to gather it safely. Monterrey, of course, one of the biggest teams in Mexico right now. They've won the regular season a few times.
Can we talk Monterrey right now for 70 minutes, David, without going to the place that neither of us want to go?
Where is it that we don't want to go?
To talk about how Monterrey is the club that took Jonah Gonzalez?
Oh, Jonathan Gonzalez, yeah. I mean, we could go there. I'm fine with going there.
That's not the club that took him. We shouldn't say that.
But it's the academy he came through after going down to Mexico.
Yes.
It's not an academy that's highly touted as producing a consistent amount of players when you look at Pumas, Pachuca, Chivas, of course. But Tecatito, Jonathan Gonzalez, Cesar Montes, three of the best young players in the Mexico setup now, we have to say. Jonathan Gonzalez no longer part of the American setup. All three of them coming through this Monterrey system. Tecatito never even playing a first-team minute. Ended up in the Netherlands before ever appearing for Monterrey. Now, of course, on FC Porto, one of the stars of the national team. But this Monterrey team coming up to the U.S., scouting young players, finding a Jonathan Gonzalez. Other Americans are in their system, bringing him down. Corner kick chance coming. It'll be Poli Castro to take.
Be interesting to see what he does. My guess is he floats it up towards the back post again. Oh, he goes for the whip ball in.
Headed down and in! the opening goal of the competition, the Houston Dynamo. They've held steady for the first 30 minutes of this game. A few dangerous chances, a couple chances we couldn't believe they didn't go in. And Eric McHugh, the center back, coming up for the set piece, heads this one down and in.
And great movement by McHugh. He starts on the back post. He even started his movement towards that back area of the 6-yard box and cut right back in to get in front of his defender and then attacked the ball well, kept it on frame. And from that distance, with that pace on the ball, there's nothing the goalkeeper can do. Smart delivery by Palomino and great run and execution by McHugh.
We saw McHugh get a chance on a free kick a little while ago, as it looks like now Michael Pham, the right fullback, going down with an injury. So Houston Dynamo are trying to take advantage and try and talk a little bit, but we saw McHugh come forward earlier on. Patel floated that ball in. He was able to give Gonzalez some trouble. He was the only Houston player making a run around the 6-yard box, and he got on the end of that one to give his team a 1-0 lead.
Well, which makes you know that it was probably a designated play from the coaching staff that they've worked on in training, David, because when I'm watching here, I saw the same thing. I said, with this wind, with all the players lined up in the back post, they're probably going to drift it, but the Houston defense knows Monterrey is probably saying the same thing. So that's when you say, send everyone in the back post, isolate someone at the near post, and play the service towards the near so that a player like McHugh can be isolated 1v1, and we clearly saw what happened.
Dangerous free kick opportunity coming now.
Now this is where the wind matters. What can you really do from about 27, 28 yards into this wind?
So Ordonez right now talking to Zapata. Ordonez, left-footed player.
It appears maybe it's going to be a pass, step on it, and then a ball either whipped in towards that back post, so if it's not touched, it'll go in, or clipped in.
So Banda now the center forward coming back to talk to now the trio, and he gets the commands of what's going to happen. Talking to his teammates now, Banda going forward. Zapata here with the low strike. Chavero puts it off the crossbar and out for a corner kick.
What a shot to put that pace and that power on the ball against this wind from 28 yards, and a great save. He read it early. He didn't even have to extend that high because he was already in the spot. Good anticipation.
So now substitution made for Pham. It looks like Caleb Allen's going to come on, a natural right back as well. So it'll be a like-for-like change. Corner kick coming here. It's alive in the box still. Banda, the last person you wanted to fall to, his strike saved. Second opportunity coming here. Zapata cuts by one defender, gets to the end line, floats it in. Banda with the header this time, and he puts it wide.
Nicely done by the Houston Dynamo backline there. You could see they all got to their spots right at the top of the 6. They protected the danger zones and told Monterrey that if they're going to score, it's going to have to be from outside that 8 to 10 yard area.
So now you're Caleb Allen, you come off the bench here. The first game of the competition in the first half for an injury. How do you adjust? How does this back line, how does McHugh playing alongside him help him get comfortable here and then at the start of the second half?
And especially since it's kind of cold. As we could say, with the wind, you're not only cold metaphorically from not playing soccer, but you're a little chilly. But yeah, this is really hard, David. It's hard to get off the bench at any level, especially right now as a 15, 16-year-old player getting used to this game. And he'll want to do two things. He'll want to get on the ball and connect easy passes, and it's up to McHugh at the center back position next to him to say that, just give him easy touches. But B, maybe it helps for him to make a mistake early and say, okay, I've gotten that out of my system, now I'm okay and ready to play, because especially when you're a reserve coming off the bench, you worry about your performance. You worry about what you can do to get into the starting lineup.
McHugh with the slide tackle there to bail out his teammate. Now I have to say, it's 64 degrees right now in Dallas.
No, it's not. I don't believe you for a second on that one.
You did just come out of snow in New York. So to complain about 64 degrees and how cold it is a bit of an interesting tactic there from Bobby Warshaw. But as always, the unexpected from Bobby as Johnson goes down off that challenge. Martinez has been a bright spot for this team on the right wing. Angel Zapata has shown his quality on those free kicks and corner kicks over the last 5 minutes. We see him on the ball here once again. So expect him to feature a lot here the second half. 34th minute, final minute of this first half. This competition, 70-minute games. What do you think the conversation is for Houston going in at halftime from these head coaches?
They'll praise them, as we've talked about before, for the shape from the defense to the midfield to the forwards, the compactness, the moments when they pressure and they're going together. I hope they're going to talk about some of these crosses. We remember that half volley that came in that hit the post. Dealing and getting your right body posture, getting your right head position, and checking your shoulders. That should be their main point of focus when the ball gets wide and dealing with those crosses.
Martinez, Zapata, Guerrera, and Banda have been dangerous in this game. Expect to see more in the second half, especially from the fullbacks Perez and Ordonez pushing forward. Perez here with the right-footed cross through the box. Banda gets ahead to it. It's over Chavero off the crossbar and out.
Right on cue, David. Right on cue.
Monterrey has hit the post 3 times here in the first half. The Dynamo leading 1-0.
That one doesn't count. We're not going to count that a post. If it's a top, that doesn't really go on the scoreboard as a post.
If you were in an MLS game and you hit the crossbar, you would count it. Do not act like you wouldn't.
I personally didn't have the post bonus in my contract, but if I did, I definitely would have fought for it.
Chavero blasts that one forward. You see how far that ball goes off that goal kick. It's going to be going the other way here in the second half. The wind, I think, has actually gotten stronger as this game has gone along. So the Houston Dynamo, leading 1-0 in this one, are going to be up against it in the second half. This should be a fun one. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very short halftime. And then we've got the second half of action. And as I said, rolling through games all day. The Montreal Impact, their first time here at the GA Cup, facing off against the Rapids. Cotter Augustine and Ben Bear will be on the call on this field for you. Myself and Bobby Warshaw will be with the Seattle Sounders. And Matsumoto Yamaga coming out of Japan. The Seattle Sounders, one of the strongest teams in this Premier Division. And right now, the Houston Dynamo, a 1-0 lead in this first half. Bobby, final thoughts?
Houston needs to very much do what they've been doing, but also just tweak those little parts about dealing with crosses coming into the box. That's when Monterrey has been most dangerous.
Monterrey going to look to turn this one around here in the second half. We've had some incredible saves in this one, none more so than this body save and then recovery by Gonzalez. We've seen Monterrey hit the post 3 times, 2 off the crossbar, and that volley off the side post. And then this set piece didn't lead to a goal, but we saw McHugh get open there. And later on in this first half, in the 30th minute, the goal off the corner here from Pauly Castro to put this team up 1-0. We'll be back in just a moment here on the MLS YouTube channel. Goal by Eric McHugh, the lone goal here. So Houston Dynamo begin the first day of the 2018 Generation Adidas Cup. First half, a 1-0 lead against Monterrey. Mr. Bobby Warshaw alongside me for this one. Monterrey coming out here in the second half, looking to try and turn things around.
Interesting to see the Houston Dynamo once again start the half in a low-pressure format, allowing Monterrey to get comfortable in possession. We've mentioned the wind a few times. Now they're obviously switched. Monterrey playing with the wind. Perhaps Houston wants to get a gauge for the game and how Monterrey is going to play with this wind and not extend themselves early. And the ball moves to the wide area here. We talked in the first half about Houston dealing with these wide crosses, particularly the back post. Let's see if they talked about it at halftime and fixed it.
Ordonez coming forward from his left back spot. It looks like this ball goes off a hand, so it'll be a set piece right outside of the box. We've seen how dangerous number 346, Angel Zapata, has been from set pieces to close out the first half. A dangerous chance now coming to start the second.
Looking at Houston Dynamo players, who's the one to organize right now? Who's the leader? It looks like Leon is the one telling people to match up, get to their spots. Nobody in that front space, I'm surprised. You usually see a zone person right out the near post. An interesting choice and a risk by Houston.
Zapata here with the free kick, and it goes over.
That might have been one of those ones that looked like he tried to bend that far post, but given Houston didn't have anybody in the front zone, perhaps he just tried to whip it in hard and got too much of it. Either way, Houston off the hook a little bit for perhaps missing an assignment.
The Houston Dynamo.
And one thing to look for early in this half, David, is as the wind changes, it really does make the game change a little bit. Houston will try and limit the risks they take. We talked about them not pressuring high. As the ball bounces into McHugh and Leon, expect them to just try and pump the ball back downfield for the first 5 to 10 minutes until they get a feel for what kind of half this will be.
So, for this Houston Dynamo team, coming out to start this competition. They struggled in qualifying, but had lead through the first half. Osmar Chavero there in goal, playing behind his two center backs, Eric McHugh and Ivan Leon. Pauly Castro at left back. And then to start the game, Michael Pham at right back. He was forced off with an injury right after their goal, so Caleb Allen checked in at right back to close out the first half. In front of them, a midfield trio for this team of the captain Patel, Brian Johnson, and Coelho, and then an attacking three in the front of Soto, Anderson, and the number 10, the talisman for this team, Palomino. We saw Palomino play out wide right and down the middle in the first half. We'll see where he sets up most of the second half for the Dynamo.
See, Dave, if we look here, as Houston gets set for this goal kick, the center backs dropped, Patel tried to find the ball, and they're trying to play out of the back, and it's something I don't understand in accordance with what we were just saying, how they appear to want to defend and limit their risk for the first few minutes. They ended up playing it long, but it's those kinds of things. It's a disjoint element between how they're defending and how they're attacking to start this half, and that concerns me for what could happen in the next 10 to 15 here. Once again, trying to play out of the back in this moment, they give it away. Monterrey has a chance.
We expected Monterrey to have a lot of possession here in this second half.
Well taken. That was always going to be a tough one. With the wind, you could see the ball also a top spin dipping down. It might have looked easy from your television screen, but here on the field right now, that was a tough one to take, and well done by Chavero.
So it looks like we have one substitution for Monterrey coming out of halftime. Looks like Pablo Sanchez has checked on for Monterrey, number 399, going into that attacking midfield position in place of Edwin Oritia, who was very quiet in the first half, Bobby. So Monterrey recognizing their struggles in that first half, making the early substitution.
Here we see Houston trying to play out of the back again. And David, you know I always appreciate teams trying to play, trying to possess the ball. But part of this sport is understanding the moments that you can and the moments you can't and limiting your risk.
Anderson able to get on the end of this one.
And this just doesn't feel like a half when Houston is going to have most of the possession, like they're going to have most of the ball. And they need to understand how can they buckle down and limit Monterrey's opportunities.
Flicked on by Johnson.
So as I watch and evaluate these young players right now, this half for me is not about Houston getting on the ball or scoring again or playing beautiful football. It's about how can they manage this 35 minutes that's going to be uncomfortable with the wind and holding the lead.
Now, all we talk about is we need to learn how to play tiki-taka. Everyone needs to learn how to play in possession. Always play out the back. How tough is it for a young player where you get these concepts battered into you and pushed into you to live this way, and then you get to your biggest game of the year and you say, you got to know when to abandon that.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's not just tough, David, for young players. It's tough for...
Coming down the right side, cross played in. It's knocked away. Corner kick coming.
It's tough for pros as well. I felt this until I was 27, 28. You want to be a possession team. You practice. You say your philosophy about how you're going to be a passing, approaching style. And then you get to a game and you say, oh, crap, that's not going to be today. Listen, this is why the captain is such an important role, why Patel is such an important job today, to look around and say, this is how we're going to win, even though it's not exactly the way we want to.
Corner kick comes in, almost knocked in at the far post. It was Edgar Martinez closing on that one, down behind the play here.
And Dave, we don't know the initiative given by the Houston Dynamo staff. Maybe they told their players, try and play. Maybe it's a learning moment where you say, you're going to be uncomfortable in games, I want you to try and solve the problems. But it seems more likely if this is a scenario, this is a 35-minute half where the Houston Dynamo, as young players, have to figure out how do we win? How do we get the points at all costs, even though it's not beautiful? How can we just solve the problems to make sure that Monterrey doesn't get opportunities? And I see early signs here. If we could see on that goal kick, Patel went to the side of the 18 to try and get the ball off his goalkeeper, but it left a big space in front of his back four, and that's not how you lock down a defense. That's not how you secure a tough shutout.
Houston Dynamo trying to get this competition started off with what would be a big win against an international opponent in Monterrey. Johnson there chasing that ball. He loses out. Banda down the wing for his teammate. Zapata pushing forward once again, and that cross blocked.
And David, Monterrey is continuing to get the same opportunities and the same openings. As that ball came, they had a player about 3/4 of the way on the second half of the goal, about 8 yards out, wide open, because the Houston Dynamo was not either tracking their runners or picking up that second one.
Cross comes in, headed off the crossbar. Another chance, still alive in the box. The back heel by Banda is blocked. It's pushed away, now McHugh finally able to clear.
I think we can safely call that a post. I'll let you have that one for a post.
Monterrey have hit the post a minimum of 3 times already in this game. another dangerous opportunity for this Rayados team. They're still not able to break through this Houston backline.
And it's the same kind of play. It's a ball from the wide area. It's the second runner. And we talked about, for me, when I watched this game, David, it's solvable. They need the two center backs to get to their spots early and open their hips, face the field, and then with their head and neck, check the runners that are coming so that A, those two center backs can cut out the lanes, but B, so that they can organize players. And I hope this is something the coaching staff addressed, because it's a very clear illness that's hitting Houston right now with an also simple fix. I shouldn't say simple, but something that they can point to.
Well, Houston have survived about 10 minutes here in this second half.
And we've talked about Palomino being the star of this team. And this is the moment, David. These are the kind of games when the star needs to step up. And he might not need to score, but as Houston's very likely going to hit a barrage from Monterrey right now, can your star player say, give me the ball? Is he brave enough to take the ball in tough spots as your team is under pressure? And that's what I'll be looking for from the number 10 for Houston, the guy who spends most of his time training with the first team. Is he willing to step up and say, guys, I can bail us out of these tough spots?
Well, Marcelo Palomino was with the US U18s in January. As we mentioned, spent the preseason with the first team, had 4 goals playing up an age group with the U18, U19 team in USDA coming into this one. Now, corner kick saved at the near post by Chavero. It looks like Houston's going to make their second change. Edery Caceres, 2001 out of Houston, Texas, an attacking player getting ready to come on. As we said, 70-minute games, so these coaches have to handle their substitutions a little different. You don't want to wait too long. You also, Bobby, want to give as many players a chance to experience this as you can while being as competitive as possible. Zapata tries to float this one over the top. Onside here is the substitute, Chavera, able to make the save there at the feet of Pablo Sanchez.
Very well read by Chavero. He could have come off his line earlier, but the ball was spinning with the wind. I had thought he waited too long, but it turned out to be just perfect. Well timed by the Houston goalkeeper in a really tough spot there. Now I'm curious, as Chavero gathers this ball, what will Houston do? Will they spread the center backs? We can see Palomino coming back to the top of the 18 to get it. And this is the tough thing to decide when you evaluate a player. Is that a brave move by the star player trying to calm his team down? Or is that a rash move by an attacker spreading his team thin? Because right now, if he does get this ball, he's the only Houston player in that spot. And as you look at your screen, Chavero's moving the ball from the left side of the 6 over to the right to play the ball to Palomino. Palomino is basically in the corner where a corner kick is taken. And now he's running back up.
So Houston making their second substitution of the game. It looks like Gilberto Soto is the one to come off for Edery Caceres. Caceres starting 8 games for this team in USDA. No goals this season so far. Poli Castro is able to pull this one wide. Martinez beats him to the ball. Martinez and Poli Castro have been in a good battle so far in this game. Ball played into the box. Finally cleared away by McHugh. Zapata looking to build something for his team. Ball floated in, headed back across the goal and in. The opening goal for Monterrey as they come level with this Houston Dynamo team here. It took them about 10 minutes here in the second half to tie this one up. Zapata able to create that one, setting up his teammate in Brandon Guerra.
And David, it's the exact same kind of play we were talking about multiple times, across from the wide area into the second layer. This time it wasn't to the top of the 6, it was to the back post. And he beat Allen to that ball. I should say the ball floated over Allen's head, and I can give him a little explanation for that. With the win, the ball did hang longer than one could expect. But even still, it's the same kind of thing that's hurt Houston all game, are these second runners coming into the box.
We saw Guerra exactly hit the post off a cross from a similar spot in the first half. This time, that ball a little bit higher, able to get his head on it. Did exactly what you want to do, right? Head it back across goal as the goalkeeper is scrambling to recover. Nothing Chavero can do about it. And Monterrey now tied 1-1. Going to see if they can build on their momentum.
And Houston in a tough emotional situation right now. They knew this half was going to be hard. And to give up the goal so early, they have to be wondering, how are we going to get a second? They haven't looked in danger of scoring at all in this half. They're certainly going to be down on themselves. Who's going to be the one to step up and say, we've got this? And I suppose that answers it, David.
Monterrey able to make it It was his 30th minute goal off a corner kick that gave the Houston Dynamo the lead in the first half. Monterrey responded in about 60 seconds in the second half. The first goal by Guerra, the second goal by Edgar Martinez in the 48th and 49th minute.
We see the no-nonsense play from the Monterrey center back there, and the contrast to what Houston did when they had the lead. Palomino at the top of his 18, trying to get on the ball. And again, we talked about it earlier. These are the things you have to assess. Is it brave of him to come get the ball and try and take the initiative, or is he messing up his team shape and going outside of what he's supposed to be doing for the good of the team?
It seems like Houston coaching staff has recognized that, and the subs they've brought in are forward players to allow Palomino to come off that front line, because there's still players in front of him now in Serviano and Frazier, who we've seen be active here
and they've
on this right wing.
Moved Anderson central.
Right. So Palomino maybe now more licensed to come back and try and create, but this team's still struggling to play out of the back here in the second half and a free kick.
And David, I frame it in the way that scouts and coaches will assess. But for me, I like to see him take that initiative. At this age, what's inside, what the way you approach the game, the hunger is more important than the way you read the game, because we can teach you to read the game as coaches at the next level. What a coach can't teach you is to care, is to be brave, is to be willing to take that on your shoulders.
So this is going to be a dangerous chance here. We saw Zapata take a strike from a similar area against the wind in the first half. You got to think he's going to try and take advantage here in the second half. A whole host of players standing around this one right now. You've got Bonda, the center forward, in the conversation. It looks like alongside Zapata, as well as Ordonez, the left-footed player that we saw standing over one in the first half.
And he went to the near post the first time, David. Don't be surprised to see him try and catch the goalkeeper cheating, and then he shoots at far post. We can see Tavares already cheated to the near post a step. He went to the near post again. That's blocked by the wall. He goes for it, and it goes over the bar. An ambitious attempt, but at that point, when you have the lead, you're as much trying to kill their counterattack as take a shot. So you wonder why he would shoot a volley like that. Well, the answer is because once the ball goes out, Houston can't counter your set piece, which is just as important when you have a lead with 10 minutes as it is to score.
Monterrey coming back from a goal down, trying to hang on here to open up GA Cup play with a win, go top of the group. Another chance to get to the end line here. McHugh with the slide tackle at the feet of Guerra.
I would like to see someone from Houston in these last few minutes stretch the Monterrey back line. Right now, Houston is trying to play through everything.
Bonda with the toe poke pushed wide by Chavera. We haven't seen a lot from the center forward, but first touch and then a creative way to get to that ball quickly and put the goalkeeper under pressure.
Yeah, Dave, when you said toe poke, I didn't even see it because it was so crowded. So nicely done for him to get that shot off under pressure. I love a good toe poke, don't you?
I mean, if it works when you're 5, it has to work through all ages, right?
The transitive property,
as
Matt Doyle would say.
As long as the ball goes in the back of the net, none of it matters. Gonzalez has had a quiet second half in goal. Remember, an open goal, Gonzalez on the ground in the first half. Houston wasn't able to take advantage. Monterrey defender making a save on the line, and Gonzalez able to scramble and recover to clean that one up. Houston then went on to score in the 30th, but they could have had a 2-goal lead going into halftime, trailing now 2-1. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw joining you from Field 8 at the Toyota Soccer Center.
There we go. We talk about stretching the defense. Instead of checking the ball, Anderson ran behind.
Plays it into space for Frazier.
Here comes the overlap. Can he get it wide one more time?
Back to Palomino. Palomino turns it over. Monterrey pushing it out as the wind billows from behind their goal.
Billows, great word, David. It's a good word to start the week.
Bobby's starting his Oxford Dictionary word of the day here because, of course, these are high school kids. It's all
That's
about
right.
education. That's what this whole tournament is about. Patel with the strong win in midfield. Frazier pushing it over.
I like Anderson towing the line. Can he pick up his head and find the goalie?
Onside Anderson. It's tackled away. He fights for it on the ground, able to get up and keep possession. A second chance at this one for the Dynamo. Long shot coming from Patel, and it's chested down.
We questioned a few minutes ago whether Houston would have the mettle to try and go for the win here, if they would pick up their heads, but not only that, if they would problem solve, and they've done both. We've already seen Anderson notice that the space is behind Monterrey. He's made a couple of those runs, but Houston looks up for the challenge in these next 5 minutes.
Bonda now brings this one down. You have to say, for this Dynamo team, Jalen Anderson, one of the older players on the team. As we mentioned, one of the few that's already committed to a college, but has looked like one of the best players on the field and has really pushed this team from that center forward position.
You know, I love fun facts, David. Can you name a former Houston Dynamo player who went to the University of Wilmington?
It's going to kill me.
Or UNC Wilmington.
This
He is also now a broadcaster.
Eddie Robinson?
Alejandro Moreno.
Wow. That's a great reference right there.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm paid for.
I thought you did this volunteer for fun. Bobby just with a smile and a nod of his head. Substitution coming here for both teams. It looks like Joshua Hellenberger coming on for this Houston side.
We see Houston keeping two players wide. Can Javero get this down? Well done by Javero, holding the ball, starting the counterattack. Who's going to run behind? Anderson sees it again. Love that from the Houston Dynamo striker. Saw where the space was, peeled out, found the space behind. Keep an eye on that in the last few minutes when Palomino has his head up to perhaps just find that one direct pass to his on-rushing striker.
For Leon and McHugh, it's been a lot of work at that center back position. What do you make of their partnership? What do you make of their performance so far in this one?
They've got a great performance. They've done well to move up and back, side to side, as a unit, keeping their space, and they've both been clean on the ball. The two things, David, are, as we've said many times, dealing with the crosses, body positioning, checking your shoulders. But two, as a center back, it's your job to talk about only not conceding, and they didn't manage the first 15 minutes of this half well. But those are each things that they will learn as they get older.
Caceres will look to put this one in the box. He curls it in. It's headed away just on top of the 18. Hellenberger just coming off the bench, looking to save that one. He's not able to, and it's Monterrey ball. And that could have been the last good look for Houston now. Just 2 minutes left to play here in this opening game. 35-minute halves. 70-minute games plus stoppage time.
Interesting how he just took 15 yards there.
But those are the little things we talk about,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Orlando Martinez now on the run. Looking to seal this one, and he does! Martinez dangerous all game. He goes from midfield all the way to the end line, and he beats Javero to win this one 3-1 for Monterrey.
And we talk about the goal, and that was so nicely taken on the dribble to finish it far post so cleanly on the run. But Dave, we talked about just a few seconds before, here on the throw-in, in their own corner, to both have the thoughtfulness and to be able to stomach just saying, I'm going to take 7 or 8 yards. It's that little decision, that little bit of gamesmanship from Monterrey that helped them seal out this victory.
Martinez outruns Leon, and then back across the face of goal into the far post to beat Chavera, one of the better goalkeepers in this competition. Beautiful finish for Orlando Martinez. It looks like Edgar Martinez with the second goal of the game is going to be the winner. You got to love that Hellenbergers come in here and really upset the Monterrey back line in about a minute of action.
Which is what you need in a moment like this. Every team needs to have a substitute whose job isn't to come in and play beautiful soccer, but it's to just wreak havoc, and clearly Houston has that option.
The Bobby Warshaw position.
I mean, I would like to think I could ball a little bit too, but yeah, I would have said the Antoine Hopino position.
That's not a bad one. Patel with the header back into midfield. It looks like for the Houston Dynamo, it's going to be a little bit too late for them, as Monterrey was able to control or at least hold off the Dynamo for enough in the first half to trail 1-0 and come back in the second half and put up 3. 2 goals in a matter of 1 minute to open this one up. Our head official now has the clock on his arm. Mr. Chris Elliott. Bobby.
It's called a watch. The clock on the arm.
I was just saying, no.
It's called a watch.
I was just saying the metaphorical, this is our game clock. Thoughts from this first game for both sides for the competition?
We've been critical of Houston in the second half. But David, the only reason I think I've been so critical is because we liked what we saw so much in that first half. And the things that we have been hard at on them, managing the game, understanding moments, are things you expect young players to mess up. So some of the things we saw early on, the ability to stay compact, the ability to make good decisions, are also important. So they'll take those positives and say, hey, here's these 2 or 3 things we didn't do in the second half, but they are fixable. So the signs have been positive from the Houston Dynamo in this first game.
The big talking point coming into this competition for Houston, Marcelo Palomino, you could see the flash of ability from him. What do you see from his overall game?
Well, there's been 2 parts. Yes, you can see he's a very good player on the ball. I'm a little concerned that he seems to be more inclined to dribble than pass, but that just might be because he's trying to take over a game and he's the best player and doesn't feel comfortable connecting with other guys in the field. But the other thing is, he just seemed like he was willing to take the game by the horns and put the weight of his team on his shoulders, and that's a nice thing to see from a young player who really didn't want to lose today and was okay with assuming the leadership responsibility.
Well, in just under an hour, the Colorado Rapids will face off against the Montreal Impact here on this field, and of course on MLS YouTube and Twitter pages, as Carter Augustine and Ben Bear will jump on the sticks for that one. Those 2 teams start their competition. We've got games all day, though, running all the way from that match all the way through the night to about 9:15 p.m. Eastern time as Monterrey comes out with a 3-1 win here against Houston. It was a 30th minute goal from Eric McHugh to open up the game and give Houston a first half lead. Monterrey 2 goals in a minute in the second half from Guerra and Edgar Martinez, and then the closer from Orlando Martinez. Bobby, final thoughts from you?
A good start for Houston in the first half. Certainly some things they'll try and work on. Monterrey, the game went exactly as they planned. They bide their time in the first half and really put Houston away in the second.
Thanks so much for joining us, and stick to MLSsoccer.com all week for your Generation Adidas Cup coverage.